Hi everyone, this is Will Knight and you're listening to All About Nothing. Today we are talking about something that affects us all. We're talking money. My guest today is Bryant Taylor. Welcome Bryant, how are you?
Hey Will, I'm doing great. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today.
So tell people about yourself.
So my name is Bryant Taylor. We're here in Chicago. I'm a financial advisor. I've been in the industry for over 16 years. I'm a certified financial planner.
Okay. And what inspired you to become a financial advisor?
Well, I was in college and I didn't, probably like a lot of kids, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was going down business path and I started leaning towards finance. When I was in finance, I guess one cool course that might have led me here was I took a class where we learned all about stocks.
Really?
And so I was in charge of the energy sector. We were actually managing chunks of the school's money. And I was in charge of the energy stocks. And this was in 2008. If you remember where the market was in 2008, that was a fun time. And so we were researching all these different methods how to analyze these stocks and determine if these companies are good companies or bad companies, should we keep them or not. I thought it was really interesting that in 2008, almost all the students pretty much said, yeah, these stocks are great. Even though the stocks were half price, I thought that was really interesting, pretty cool. It was just, I didn't know anything about money, but I was like, there's recessions happen, but that doesn't mean the stocks are bad. And that's something that I kind of carry with me today. But anyway, all through my education, we never really heard the word budgeting or IRAs or finance in general. And I took in my senior year a random class called financial planning, and there was a financial advisor who was the professor, and he was running both businesses. And this guy was great. He was telling us all about his day-to-day duties, the way of life, how he's helping clients. And that's the first time I heard about IRAs and Roth IRAs. And then I'm pretty blessed that in our career we do have a pretty good work-life balance, depending. Eventually, when you get everything up and running, you have awesome relationships with your clients. You're kind of like teaching every day. And I think if it wasn't honestly for that class, I would not be doing what I'm doing.
So you mentioned something that kind of sparked a curiosity for me. What is an IRA?
IRA is when you are starting to accumulate wealth, you get to choose where you save those monies. They can be ending in your brokerage accounts, your Schwab accounts, Robinhood, people know today. But IRAs and Roth IRAs are really special retirement accounts designed by the government to give you some extra tax benefits. You can go IRA or Roth IRA, then bigger than that you have when you work with a company like a business, you got 401ks, 403bs, all different types of plans. These are like employer plans, but with special tax benefits. So if you're going to be saving somewhere, in an IRA allows you to have a pre-tax deduction. So if you're going to save, let's say $5,000 of your money per year somewhere, if you just put it in Robinhood, you don't really get any extra tax benefits. But if you put it in an IRA, you can kind of say, you know what, Uncle Sam, can you not tax me on this $5,000 today? So you can get a nice tax break if you want to. But then the money grows, it continues to grow, but eventually you will have to pay taxes on that. Or you can do Roth. Roth is like, I don't need the tax breaks today, I'm fine. But all the money that accumulates inside the Roth will always be tax-free. So IRAs and Roth IRAs are just really like Uncle Sam's versions of tax-efficient ways to save. If you're going to save, they want to give you a couple tax benefits while you do it.
Okay. So going back, how do you define financial success?
I would say financial success, to me, might be if you get to a point where you kind of have developed a strategy, you have a goal in mind, you know what you're trying to accomplish, you know what the end goal is, right? You know how much you should be trying to save, you know where you should be saving. You have a plan. You don't have to be sticking to it line by line, but kind of having a plan. But you also have some nice life balance. Maybe you're getting to spend more time with family or your friends. You feel confident in like job security. You're not really stressing about every last dollar. I think if you get to a point like that, you can say that might be financial success.
Okay. How do people, or shall I say, what have you learned about people and how do they approach money?
I've learned some pretty good ones over the years. One thing I've learned is, we do work with a lot of baby boomers. By default, a lot of people are getting serious about retirement planning in later stages in life, so they're tiptoeing into retirement. But we see quite often that generation, they never really had a lot when they were kids. They save. They live very frugally, and they're building up monstrous retirement accounts, huge IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401ks. But they do have a problem. They get to retirement and they don't know how to spend it. They have all this money, and we'll tell them, like, if you keep living life the way you are, your kids are going to inherit X millions of dollars. But I'll try and encourage them. I'll say, or you can spend $10,000-$20,000 a year, and they'll get $1 less million. Boo-hoo.
Let them work for themselves.
Right.
Because you did the hard work.
You did the hard work. You built all this wealth. You got there. You should really enjoy it too. But have a plan when you start taking money out too. But back to your point, honestly, a lot of people built up this wealth. They won't spend it. They don't know what to do with this. We talk about gifting. We talk about charitable stuff, or we just try and encourage them to spend it. Another interesting one I found out early in my career is I met a gentleman who was 50 years old. I'm little old Bryant, probably 5 years into the business. And he's like, Bryant, I'm going to retire in 5 years. And I said, well, that's great. Let's do some planning. Let's make sure that, things look good. You're going to be confident, have a successful retirement. He's like, no, you're not listening to me. I'm going to retire at 50. And I was like, whoa. And he's like, because my father died at 55, his father died at 55. We don't have good genes, and I want to enjoy some of my life.
Okay.
But I kind of thought that was a big takeaway. I was like, yeah, you really should not be saving every dollar all day. You really should have some life balance. Like, just, as long as you're close to your retirement goals, but also you got to live life today. You don't want to retire with, several $1 million, but never get there and be able to enjoy it.
And not use it.
Right, exactly.
What are some of the most common financial mistakes people make, and how do you avoid them?
So I got several I could probably share with you. One is starting to save too late. I do meet people, unfortunately, they're in their 40s, they're trying to get serious, but they haven't, done a good job saving. Just start as early as you can. Start saving, put something in. If you start with 3% of your paycheck, I'm just making up a number, something, you start doing it, and then, after a couple of years, first of all, you're not going to miss it. It's only 3% of your paycheck. You're probably going to be fine. You can still go to the store, buy all the same stuff you were buying anyway. But after a couple of years, you see that account growing. You're seeing statements every year. Now you're more aware. You're more conscious. You start saving more, and that's where you start. Also, not saving enough. So, if you never really do a plan and you have no track to run on, you're just winging it, and it might work out. You might be okay. People tend to find a way to make it work. But if you really have a goal of, I want to retire at this age, or I want to live, on $100,000 a year, I can tell you exactly how much you should be saving. And the sooner you know that number, the quicker you can, small tweaks today can get you to that goal. But if you wait till you're 45, it's kind of hard to do it. I meet a lot of clients too that are saving all their money in pre-tax. When you sign up for your first 401k outside of school, and you start saving, there's a lot of default options, and people just start saving pre-tax. They don't know that there's something called Roth. They've never heard of that. And if you don't know Roth, that means you've opted not to use Roth. And I'm a huge fan of Roth, especially when you're young, your income is low. We all hope that our income is going to grow. We hope that this year is the worst income we'll ever have again, right? We hope our income is going to grow every year. And if that's true, you're probably going to have worse taxes later than you do today. So Roth is a great way. You don't really need all this tax savings today. Just save, get the money in, let it be tax-free for the rest of your life. You can worry about pre-tax when you're really in a high bracket.
What's interesting is I love Roth IRA.
Nice. Good for you.
I do. I love them. Years ago, I was reading an article in a newspaper, and it said that if you invest, someone who's 21 years old or 20 invests $1,000 a year, and every year they increase that to the maximum amount of money and keep doing that, they would get something like over 500 some $1,000 or close to $1 million when they go to retire. And I'm like, that's a great cushion.
All tax free.
All tax free, yeah.
You don't have to worry. Like, we all know the Fed's got some real deficit issues, and we're in Illinois here. Illinois's got some real financial troubles too. So, if you have all your money in a pre-tax IRA, I always joke with clients, that's not your money. It's your money and Uncle Sam's.
Right.
And you don't know what the tax bracket's going to be when you pull it out.
Because Uncle Sam's going to collect.
They're going to get it, yeah. You might have a chance to pull some out. I mean, it's possible to pull money out of IRAs tax-free if you're in a really low income bracket, but you're going to pay taxes on it.
Okay. What are some of the realistic budgets that a young person can make? Like, for instance, and we're just going off the top of our heads here. Let's say a 28-year-old finished college, they're got their life going for them. What are some of the realistic budget goals for them that they should look out for in savings?
Let me answer that really quick. I'm going to tell you just two more quick issues that we see quite a bit that people, kind of make mistakes. One of them is not putting beneficiaries on accounts. We see that all the time. So if I pull up your retirement account at work, the first thing I do is check if you have beneficiaries, and we see it all the time when they don't have it. So just a quick reminder: make sure you do that. Every bank account you have should have beneficiaries. If you have a property, you should have beneficiaries. If you don't have beneficiaries, it's a real mess to the next generation, not to mention it can be costly. So I always love to just remind people to put beneficiaries on
And some of these costs could go up to like $30,000.
Absolutely. I had a client whose mother had passed away and had a house that had no beneficiaries in the house. The house was $500,000. Can you guess what the probate costs were in Illinois?
40,000.
11,700. So a little bit less.
Yeah.
But still, if you would have found a way to put beneficiaries on that house, it would have went right to the kids, no cost. But instead, it's $11,000 is a lot of money.
And that's just the house alone, not including
house.
If a person who is, like, for instance, 55 years old or something like that, they die or something, and now they have investment plan, they have the 401k, they have a house. The more money you have or more expenses you have,
Absolutely.
that the more money the lawyer gets.
Absolutely. Yep. Good day for the lawyer.
Yeah, definitely.
Beneficiaries on everything. Make sure you do it. And if you have kids, put the kids on there too. One last cool thing that I hear a lot that people make mistakes is just, debt in general. Credit card, high interest credit card stuff. If you have credit card debt, you really got to worry about your budget, which I guess we'll get to in just a second. You try not to carry any credit card debt over 20%. You have to pay that stuff off, find a way to knock it down. But you wouldn't believe it. I'm starting to see student loans that are 10. I saw one at 18% from Sallie Mae.
Are you serious?
That's a student loan from good old Sallie Mae.
Wow.
And you have to be careful of this stuff. Like, if you had a $50,000 student loan at, let's call it 20%, the first $10,000 you pay per year is only interest. That's crazy. So if you have stuff with high debt, don't just forget about it and pay the minimums. You got to find ways to restructure. There are ideas out there that maybe an advisor can help with, and you really shouldn't be paying those kinds of rates. There's ways to get it cheaper.
For our audience out there, if you have not subscribed to Will Knight All About Nothing podcast, go ahead and do so. Just click that button, and we're going back. So, Brian, tell us about an emergency fund.
So a good rule of thumb for emergency reserves is you really should have like 3 to 6 months of all of your expenses. So you think food, clothes, gas, travel, your health insurance, all that stuff, all the essentials. Find out how much you're paying per month and times it by 3. You should have 3 to 6 months. If you have less job security, if you're always nervous that something could go wrong, then you should probably have more. If things are great and you know you're not going to lose your job anytime soon, which nobody knows, then you could probably get away with 3 to 6. But you should have that liquid. You should be able to get your hands on it any day of the week. If you have a lot more than 3 to 6 months, then you probably should put it to work. You should probably be getting some high yield interest. Maybe it can be funneled into retirement accounts to try and continue to grow your wealth. But 3 to 6 months is kind of the going average.
And is this for short-term planning or long-term planning?
That's just for the what-if planning.
Okay.
So you bring up a good point. So like, yeah, if you're trying to buy a house in the next couple of years, or if you're trying to buy a car in March of next year, any monies that you know you need in the next 5 years, I think that should already be in short-term reserves. And you can have it, if it's a big dollar amount. Like I'm trying to buy a house, so I have money set aside for a down payment, but it's not sitting at Chase earning 0. So I'm trying to make 3-4% interest whatever I can get to make it keep growing. Working hard for me, but I cannot afford a recession to come through, and we never know when a recession happens. I can't afford a recession to come and take half of my down payment.
Right.
So I have to keep it safe.
And this is what people are dealing with now.
Absolutely.
With the up and down in the stock market and Wall Street, things like that.
I knew a client who had her down payment in the S&P 500, and when the tariffs were first rolled out this year in February, the market took a scary dive of, 20-30%, and this individual lost a decent chunk of their down payment, which was very scary. Very fortunately for her, the market rebounded quickly, but what if it didn't?
Yeah.
Then you're out. So if you need the money in the next 2 to 3 years, that should really be kind of safe anyway. And then we'll probably talk later, but if you're in retirement world, you might cover a longer period of, you might have an emergency reserve cushion of maybe 3 to 5 years, even 5 years, not in money markets, but somewhere safe that a recession cannot stop you from getting the money you need over a 5-year period. Because a recession can happen at any time, and it's happened for longer than 5 years. And if all of your money in stocks, you can't sell stocks at a big loss to get money for the retirement income you need.
Yeah.
So for that reason, we always keep like a decent chunk of their money in bonds, so that even if there's a recession, they're going to be fine for 5 years to wait it out.
So you deal with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, you deal with everything here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We do.
What are some of the strategies? The strategies different from a person who is single to married couple?
I would say if you're single, if you just, got out of school, you got your first career, you're probably new to money, you're enjoying life a little bit, and you should. But that's really your chance to get ahead. You should start pumping money aside. There's a lot of studies that say, for example, if you start saving at 25 and you save X number of dollars a month through the age of 35, and then you stop, you never save again. Mm-hmm. And then your friend next to you started saving at 35 and saved all the way to retirement. If she or he saved the same exact dollars that you saved, she'll never catch you. So saving early, the first 10 years is so monstrous. The compound effect of those dollars can really set you up nicely for retirement, especially when you don't have any little ones at home or dependents. It's a good chance just to kind of get some nice savings. But once you're with a partner and you're in a relationship, I always recommend you should put all your cards on the table, be open, talk with each other, let everyone be on the same page, so everyone knows exactly how much money there is and what your goals are. Share your goals, and then you might develop a slightly new strategy where you're trying to meet both of your goals.
So I know you're not a marriage counselor or a couple counselor, but I wanted to know, like I see, for instance, several people keep their finances separately. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, me personally, I think that's a bad idea. Because if you have one person spending and in credit card debt, and the other person who is trying to save and build a nest egg, you never get that nest egg because the other person is just spending.
You're right.
Amazon packages coming every day. Do you find that to be overwhelming for people sometimes? Is to like I said, you're not a marriage counselor, but do you find that couples have that, they feel overwhelming in that in your past history with dealing with couples?
I think you can really go either way. It's whatever you're comfortable with. We see clients that do both all the time. It's probably more common that they're combined. But I have seen, to your point, I've seen one spouse that has significant cash in the bank and not earning much, unfortunately. And then the other partner has significant credit card debt, and one person is not making any interest on their cash, and the other person is paying 20% interest on their credit card debt. So I think it comes back to, like, if you have a partner, and if you should really put all the cards on the table, work as a team. Your money's their money anyway. Your debts are their debts. So just be strategic with all the resources, all the assets to make the best of the situation for both of you.
And we're going to go into kids now. Parents or people leaving money to their kids in relationships and things like that. What's the mindset of being a financial advisor and financial discipline and connecting those personal growth and confidence as so far as, like, you know, I want to leave my kid, you know, X amount of money when I die? Is that something that's planned, or is that something that's in a living trust or will? How does that relate?
I think when I'm working with clients, a lot of times we do talk about gifting, but gifting really doesn't come up. I don't recommend a lot of gifting until you're taking care of yourself. There's no loans for retirement, right?
Same here.
Right. So you
I'm
kind of have to be
I'm spending my college kids' money every day.
Yep, there you go. So I think, like, you have to be a little bit selfish. Make sure you're on track. Make sure you're on target to achieve all your goals. You're going to retire when you want to. If you're trying to do college planning for the kids, do it. Put some money aside for that. If you guys need life insurance for each other to protect, get all your ducks in a row, right? And if you have cushion, if you got extra cash flow, there's some really cool ways to gift. And then there's specific assets you might want to gift. There's a lot of cool ways to do it, but a lot of times I see people get serious about gifting once they've made it, once they get to retirement, and they just realize, yeah, we don't need all this money, and then they start giving it away then. So I always warn clients, like, before you start gifting to all your kids when you're young, they might not give it back. They might not be there to help you when you're in retirement.
You know, if anybody wants to gift me money, right. I'm open for it.
Yep. How can they reach you with?
That's right, exactly. Yep. So, Brian,
Yeah.
we're going to wrap this up, but I got one more question for you, or a couple more questions for you. You're a successful guy. You have a fiance. You have 2 kids. How does that relate to you dealing with clients every day, or like planning, like for college?
That's a good question. I do, how do they say it? You live and breathe what I'm talking to clients. So we're doing all the same things that we're talking to clients about. We do, my fiance and I, we have, it's called eMoney. It's a financial planning tool where all of our stuff is on one dashboard. We just looked at it yesterday. But we do look at it a couple times a year, make sure we're both on the same track. There's, I think Mint is another one that you could look at that's public. But you can link up accounts nowadays pretty securely with some websites. So you have a dashboard that you can look at and, you know, just make sure you're all on the same page. But we do the college accounts. We do the life insurance for each other. We have disability insurance. So we pretty much do all the same things that we advise our clients in. We have investments in the same exact investment portfolios that our clients are in. Having kids does help me kind of relate to some of the conversations that my younger clients are having. For example, kudos to my fiance. She found out a new benefit in her group benefits, which is not super common, but there's dependent care FSA plans. So you can actually, if your company allows it, you can save money pre-tax for dependent care and for daycare, for childcare, for private school. That stuff's expensive.
Because you can never count on your kids to take care of you.
Right.
They're going to be spending your money.
Right, exactly. These kids are expensive, so if you can get some tax benefits along the way, but I'm just saying, like, you know, we do all the same stuff that we're sharing with our clients.
So, Brian, where can someone find you at? I mean, if they want to reach out to you for advice or need a financial advisor, where can someone find you at?
Yeah, we're local. We're here in Chicago. Our website is ifcplanners.com. Check us out, reach out. I was going to say, you know, financial advice should be free. You should be able to get some level of financial advice for free to get a second opinion. So if you have specific questions or if you want to look at the whole big picture and have a real nice strategy, a game plan, that's what we do, or any financial planner. And I would recommend, if you don't really have a good game plan, it's a nice idea to get it. And again, it doesn't have to cost a lot to set up some kind of strategy.
All right. Bryant Taylor, thank you very much for joining All About Nothing. And to our audience, I hope today's conversation gives you a little bit of a clear step in taking control of your financial life. And this is All About Nothing. This is Will Knight, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you, Will.